y'all get my message? Y'all real quiet.
Yeah, we got it. We just sitting here topicless.
Y'all just sitting here topless. What'd you say?
Topicless.
Oh.
Let me see where your mind's at.
Topless.
Yeah. She's been trying to see my man boobies for a while.
3 years now, Terry. 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
When you gonna take off your clothes on the podcast so we can get some followers?
Well, I am in my boxers, so
That's typical.
that's halfway.
But you don't stand up for us. I'm not suggesting that you do today.
Okay.
Because I know you. I'm not suggesting it. Don't judge. I don't know how I'm gonna look when I turn on the camera.
I think you're the only person who ever judges yourself on these cameras.
Oh.
I always think you look fine. You be just swearing. You just
Thanks. I be looking
toe
rough.
up on the floor.
So what's the topic?
We were just saying we don't know.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. I came in hot, looking crazy. It's lopsided. My hair always lopsided. I don't know until I get on here. I'm like, dang, I've been looking like that all day.
You telling it just looks like that to you because of the camera. It ain't lopsided.
I be doing that too, Kelly. Like my bun sometimes. Like, is it straight?
Yeah.
We here today. I made it. That's what's important.
I'm singing alone now. Ma'am, with that mask. Let that mask work for you. I'm singing alone. No, I'll call you when I'm
Yeah,
ready.
I think that one's pretty funny. We should do that one.
Man with that mask.
She said, don't sing. She said, thank you, Lord. Now when you get up here and it's your turn, I said, who, me? Not me. Say, get something in your head. Oh, thank you. Y'all give her a hand. You gonna do it? You can't have it. That's out there. You ready? Just sing, say, get something in your head. Get something in your hand and wave it in the air.
Okay. Now we can boom shakalaka it.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones Podcast. This is the podcast and place for us preachers' kids to be the absolute worst. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am the son of a preacher man. We got our honor roll student, Janessa Rowland. We got our token white and author, Terry Weezy. And we got the Princess Kales 51, who can't be found or can't be followed. Or she won't follow you. So however it works. You can request. So Janessa, we'll start with you. How you doing? How you
Much better. I was sick last week, so
Yeah.
I'm glad y'all were able to carry on without me. Thankfully, I did not have COVID or the flu, but I had some type of upper respiratory infection, something. So I did a lot of resting last week and feel much better. And I also had some dental work done, so I have a lisp right now, but we're just going to pray through it and work through it. But I'm doing much better this week in terms of my health. Of course, I'm stressed with work, but it is what it is. So,
gotcha. I don't hear a lisp, so I mean, you working it out.
Okay, because I hear it. It's bothering me, and I know I have to talk and get used to putting my tongue the right way, but here we are. Oh, and I did want to say, because I missed last week. I did go to the planetarium that weekend, and I had a blast. And I encourage everybody to go. The black hole I don't know, presentation, movie, I don't know what to call it, was very like intriguing. And how they form and how many are out there. It was I recommend it for everybody. And then the observatory was open that evening. And so Jupiter, we could see Jupiter and its 4 moons. And I think it was, we could see Andromeda, which is the nearest solar galaxy to the Milky Way. We could see that as well. So that was pretty dope, like with the super big telescope and everything like that. So I did go.
Can we see Uranus?
No.
Come on.
Mm-mm.
Had to be done. Had to be done.
No. And for all the science people out there, or even if you're not a science person, there is a total eclipse coming April 8th, I believe. In Atlanta, it'll be like 80 something, 90 something %. But I really want to see the total eclipse. Like the people were saying, like the animals start acting weird and it literally gets completely dark. And it's definitely something you want to experience. Plus, I don't think the next total eclipse will happen until 2045 and then 2073 or 78. So, something you're interested in, huh?
I'm gonna catch the 2078 one.
The 78, well, you might want to see the one in April of this year or 2045.
I'm gonna buy tickets for the 2078.
Okay.
Yes. We're trying to figure out if we can go and see the one in April, because we bought my dad a telescope. My parents are really into looking at the stars, and when the weather people or whoever is saying, oh, you can see Saturn tonight or you can see Mars, like my parents go out and look and everything like that. So we're trying to do a family trip if possible to see the total eclipse in April.
A family trip to where?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
The path kind of goes from Texas, like Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, kind of going that way up north, like Maine, New Hampshire, crossing those states. So we're trying to maybe do Texas or maybe Missouri or something like that.
Gotcha.
When you went to the Fernbank thing or whatever, that was the adult night?
No. And I was surprised because it was well attended. It was maybe 30 or 40 people up in there on a Friday night. So no.
So last week I did Kellie's Jewels. Sorry.
Oh, wonderful. You don't do this one?
Was it nowhere near as great as Janessa's Jewels, and it was actually stolen from Janessa's Jewels. So it was a box. So you gotta go back and listen to it.
Oh yeah.
Follow up on Janessa's Jewels from the week before. You know me, I get a little sad when we don't have them. So I jumped in there just a little bit. So go back there and listen to it.
Well, you're gonna be real sad today, girl.
You got about 40 minutes to figure it out. Talk to the Lord.
Last week, and we're recording on the wrong day. Like I'm just not prepared, Kellie.
Okay. You got about 40 minutes.
I'll give you a personal one tomorrow.
You got about 40 minutes less than that, probably about 25, 30.
If you ever need inspiration, Janessa, you can go over to my other podcast, which is blamegirlpodcast.com. And I've got 150 different words for white people. Feel free to steal any of them.
He is pushing this segment here. All right.
That just sounded words of white people.
That's right. Sometimes you get to have words.
But that's all.
Gotcha. Good deal. Kellie Lee, you want us to come back to you while you snacking?
I go ahead. I can tell you why I'm snacking. So today was a long day. I'm just now, I don't even think I really ate lunch. So this is lunch and dinner. How crazy today has been, but we here. We thank God for being here. I also wanted to say, I think I told you guys my church was doing 21 days of prayer and fasting. And let me tell you how the Lord works. So it ended Sunday. So Sunday was the last day. Y'all know my time to pray was Sunday at 3 a.m. I logged on to a morning one, like a Friday, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. when things are, a little more popular. And I remember calling my dad afterwards because I'm like, man, she had so many prayer requests. I don't know how she kept up. It was like 20 prayer requests. I'm like, man, I'm excited about my 3 a.m. I get 2-3 prayer requests. We keep it moving. The Lord said, bet. Sunday, 3 a.m. When I tell you I had so many prayer requests, the whole prayer is supposed to be 7 minutes long. You come in with a little intro. I say a general prayer about a target. Then I get prayer requests, and then we're done. It's supposed to be no more than 7 minutes. I was on there from 3 a.m. to 3:27 a.m. because I had to do a 15-minute prayer for all the prayer requests. I said, Lord, you done stretched me today. You done stretched me today. But it did feel good to be able to minister in that way, to be able to give in that way, to be able to pour into others in that way. For sure, it was the last day of the fast, so in the prayer line, and so the 24-hour prayer line, and so I'm sure it was packed all day on Sunday. But it was just funny the way I had 2 days before called my dad like, man, I don't know how she kept up with it, and then 2 days later I had to do it. And so and you call everybody by name, and so you'll say Sister Lauren, who's struggling with breast cancer and blah blah blah, Sister Bobby, and I go through each one, and someone would get on now. I got 2 prayer requests and 2 praise reports. So I got to write all that. And so, like I said, the Lord stretched me, but it felt good. It felt good to finish the fast. So it's good. So I feel good. This week has been a crazy good. But again, I think it's the continuing to minister to others. I think that's what the Lord has kind of laid on my spirit, on my heart through this, is how I minister to others, not even necessarily through prayer, but just in my daily walk and how I carry myself in work and in, other environments. So things have been well so far. Like I said, busy, crazy, but doing well, trying to hear from the Lord.
So I have 2 things for that. I think next January, instead of Princess being Kellie's tagline, needs to be the Intercessor. That's her new title. Prayer ministry. And then also Kellie,
Intercessor Kel's 27 for the 27 minutes.
We're not gonna implement it immediately, but maybe at some point we can incorporate prayer in our podcast, and Kellie can pray us on out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right after the jewels.
We'll pray about it. We'll pray about it.
And we'll take prayer requests via our social media.
Low key, that's actually a really good idea.
And Kellie will pray for you.
You're gonna request them jewels, you gotta pray. You gotta ask them.
Let me pray about it.
We'll circle back.
We'll circle back to that one. That's a really good idea, though. I like it. Let me speak to the Lord. See what he say.
All right, Terry Weezy.
Oh no, I'm good.
Is the snow gone?
The snow has been gone for weeks. Yes, the snow stuck around for about a week, and all melted off. But thankfully, the temperatures are up to a reasonable 40, mid 30s to low 40s. Because that -5 degrees is crazy. And I mean, not only that, but I mean, literally within 7 days, it went from being -5 degrees to 60 degrees in 7 days. That's bananas. Like, shouldn't be like that. I mean, it just shouldn't be. But no, I am currently working on a proposal. A pitch essentially for some private investors to open a new restaurant. So it's looking good. Hopefully, if it's meant to be, it'll be. So.
Well, we're going to put that on the prayer list that Kellie's going to pray for.
There you go. That's your first one.
Right now, privately.
Yeah.
So I'll do it tonight for you.
Yeah, exactly. You put it on your list that these wealthy people give me 150 grand just because I'm awesome. So
is this still the sandwich shop you want to do?
Yeah.
Sandwiches? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gourmet sandwiches. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah. But hey, look, I think it's a good idea. I can make things at such a these I can make these gourmet sandwiches at such a high level, and all I got to do is charge $1.50 more than Subway. I think that's a fair deal. So.
How much is Subway sandwiches right now?
Right now, they're running about $13 for a foot long.
A lot.
If you want anything decent, I think I can make, very high-end gourmet food for about $15. So, and the numbers are proving solid. So hopefully, we'll see.
Let's post it.
Well, anyway, that's all.
My prayers work, so I pray tonight.
Kellie, let us know what the Lord say.
My prayers work.
Unless it's not good, then don't tell me. It's like Star Wars. Never tell me the odds, kid.
All right, well, cool beans. One thing I got going on is work in about an hour and a half, so we're gonna get this thing cracking. We are doing is the Devil Trolling God Part 2 because we've been finding all this different little stuffs on the internets and what have you. Where
how many internets do we have?
There's multiple.
Okay.
There's the dark web. Dark web's out there.
Just want to make sure.
I heard there's Beyonce's internet, then there's Al Gore's internet.
Right.
I need to look up, and this is off topic, but when I finally got to my phone on the way home, apparently Shay Shay said something about Beyonce and Taylor Swift, and it's all the rage. So when I get off here, I got to figure out what's going on.
I did see that.
I'm just fascinated that Beyonce has her own internet. I'm just learning about this.
But honey, whatever they said, the Beyonce internet about to get on Club Shay Shay because they call it for his whole podcast. So,
well, right now we're gonna talk about the other God that people don't serve. I know people serve Beyonce, but we're gonna talk about
Beyonce is not a god.
I know that. No, that was the whole thing.
Yes.
That was the punchline.
I was making sure that you know that we know.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not talking about you thinking she's a god, but I'm saying I know people, worship her. So that's why I was saying,
They do know.
Well, she is the queen. So.
But so in reference to so Janessa sent us a couple things. Well, Janessa and Terry. So Janessa sent two things, and then Terry sent one. There's a Colorado pastor who says blatantly that God told him to scam his congregation through cryptocurrency about a $1.3 million situation that he pocketed. We got fellow comedian Ron White making Terry Wayne's point about Joel Osteen being a piece of shit. Not opening up his church during the Houston floods and how
man's garbage.
And there was a furniture store that did open up and let people come in there and sleep on the beds and all that type of stuff. And then we got Sister Burrell, first name Kim, who is out here shutting women down in the congregation who want to sing along with her during her God-inspired solo. And and so I mean, all of these, the reason why it's even fitting into the whole category of the devil trolling God, because folks be trolling on the internet. Speaking of trolling, did y'all see how the Breakfast Club did they roll out for Jess Hilarious to be the new co-host?
I saw some of it, but I was a little confused. Like, I saw Jess had called them losers about something that they were talking about, but then they announced she was going to be the new host and all was well. And I was like, wait, what?
Well, yeah, so that's why I brought it up, because the Breakfast Club definitely trolled everybody. That's what I'm getting at. Like, they made it because everybody was already like, putting her down, saying she didn't get it and she announced it too prematurely and blah, 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 blah. And they made this like audio. It's a video, but they took all the audios of everybody basically like dogging her out or whatever like that and having little comments to basically reveal that she had the job the whole time type thing. So But nonetheless, trolling. The point I'm getting at is trolling is definitely a thing on these internets, and this I don't know. I don't know if this is all this stuff we've seen in reference to God, or the church looking kind of bad. Is just the devil trolling, or or this is just more exposure of the tomfoolery that is, that's within the church. That's what I kind of brought up last week, Janessa. I know you wasn't here, but I was kind of asking, like, is all of this, like revealing the truth, and it's good to expose the people who just say maybe just say wolves in sheep's clothing, or is the internet making, this faith that we hold so near and dear to our heart look bad, and we need to, I guess, put out some better representation on these same interwebs.
I see.
Because the Colorado pastor, that's wild. Like saying God told you to scam people. Like,
God ain't saying that.
like, like it's one
now
thing.
that's trolling. If that's I don't even have a word.
Yeah.
There's a word.
What's the word? Because I can't get it out.
Scumbag is the
I
word.
don't know everything that was talked about last week. I have to go back and listen. But I will say, when I saw some of these stories we're talking about, and even the ones that I had sent last week, it is a little concerning because we just live in a time now where information spreads fast. No one really is fact checking. Whatever you say kind of just goes. And unfortunately, it seems like people are even more gullible today. And I don't know how this is going to fare like long term. I think like our generation, especially the four of us who grew up in church, and like there's just certain things we'll see on the internet, and we're not going to be like, oh yes, like we're still the people who will be like, something about it don't seem right. But like my nieces and nephews, they're coming up in a time where they like the internet is all they know. And I'm just a little concerned, like when they have kids, because even my oldest niece, she's 16, she'll be 17 this year, which is wild to me. But she's about to be an adult, and one day she was going to have kids. And what are they going to, what foundation do they have? I think like we were talking about the cryptocurrency, that's wild. Wild to scam your congregation, your parishioners, your whatever. Like, and I also think that it leaves a bad taste in some people's mouths, especially maybe people who are not religious, or maybe they're on the fence. Like, it just kind of solidifies or confirms, whatever they are believing. And unfortunately, the viral moments make the internet more than the positive moments. And so I am a bit concerned about where we're going to go. Where is the world going with this? But also with the Kim Burrell situation, though, she is a seasoned saint. And, to be behaving in such way as a seasoned saint, that's a little concerning too. So I really don't I really am a little concerned, and I really don't know where this ship is going to go.
Yeah.
I have some more thoughts. Let y'all go ahead.
Well, because even one of the other videos that you sent last week, which is, I ain't gonna say the same, but just say similar to kind of what she did, with the young man that was the praise and worship leader snapping on the little congregation about them not.
I forgot about that.
Him don't want nobody singing with her. He want everybody singing along.
Y'all dead.
He fussing that by how people need to have their kids sit down. He's sick of them.
Hilarious.
He had them even drop a little cuss word at him. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even about that he cussed at the church and all that. I'm even getting. It's just the fact that he was that nasty to them even if they would have been outside the church somewhere, you know what I'm saying, and you just cussing at these people because you so furious that they will not participate in praise and worship. Never even checking yourself, never even looking in the mirror, never even seeing, hey, maybe it's something that I can do, and not what you did as far as fussing them out, but something I can do to increase participation. Even the build of the church. I mean, it was some young babies in there, so maybe it's some young adults in there, but it definitely seemed like an older church, like probably some older saints who, they may not can probably get with the type of music he was singing. You know what I'm saying? They may want some, slow down chariot, let me ride. And he was, he was doing something, you just say, I don't know, somebody new, you know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, even just stuff like that. And like you said, the the girl getting kicked out the church with the note and the tithe check. Yeah. And
it's like there's extremes, because then you got Pastor William Surfy over here.
William Surfy.
Wag surfing and Body Yada Yada or whatever song that was playing for Megan Thee Stallion. You got that. And then you have the minister of music who was saying they wasn't singing at all. It's like a wide spectrum of like different stuff. And I will say I've noticed it just seems like the Christian community is very divided right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I would have wrote it down. But there's a scripture talking about unity in Christianity. And I feel like, there's a saying that's like, what is it? If you don't stand for anything, you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, or something like that. And it just seems like right now, everybody's just doing their own thing under the umbrella of Christianity. And like, I don't think we're really realizing like this is what the devil wants. He wants to separate us and get to us, like we are. And I just don't know where this is going. Like, we need the intercessors, Kellie, more than ever. Kellie and her daddy, okay, because they're the prayer warriors. We need y'all more than ever. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts, Kellie and Terry?
I think that Christians blame the devil way too much. You don't have to blame the devil. You can do bad all by yourself, like, huh?
The devil helps.
Oh, sure. No, I think that preacher out in with the crypto thing, I think he found a way to make a bunch of money, and because people love money so much, he just did that. And then he hung it up on God, saying God told him to do it. And then when he got busted, he'll turn around and say, well, the devil made me do it. No, you did it because you wanted to punch him.
He said God made him do it. That's what's crazy.
I understand that. And later, when he ends up, probably in jail, he'll say, well, the devil led me down that path. No, you did it. The devil's just an easy scapegoat for your own behavior. You did wrong because you wanted a bunch of money. That's it. And then
like the devil attacking Janessa up there.
Wow, like, you okay? You alright?
Yeah. And in this little Brady Bunch thing we got going, she's definitely the one in hospice. No, I think it's just it's a cheap scapegoat from your own behavior. Oh, the devil made me do it. The devil made me do this. The devil made me do that. I cheated on my wife because the devil got in my heart. I defrauded the congregation because the devil seeped into me. It's like, no, you did. You can sin all by yourself. You can be bad all by yourself. You have the capabilities of being good, and you have the capabilities of being evil. And today you chose evil. So stop blaming some external tormentor and just, fess up, take your lumps, be a man or a woman or whatever, be a person of character, and stand up and say, I messed up. and I'm sorry, and I'm going to try not to mess up the next time. To err is human, you know, but forgiveness is divine. But you can't receive forgiveness if you don't acknowledge your mistakes. So stop blaming the devil. You know, he's not the big antagonist. I the best quote I've ever heard was, if you want to see someone's true character, give them a bunch of money, and they'll show you who they really are. Once you've got what they call FU money, I'm not going to say it, but it's basically enough money you could tell the whole world to F off, and never have to face any repercussions for it. You give somebody FU money, you're going to find out who they really are underneath it all, which is why I sent in the Joel Osteen thing, because Joel Osteen has FU money, and now we've seen who he really is. He's not a philanthropist. He's not wanting to help his community or his people. He got new carpets in, so he didn't want to let the hurricane victims come in and wreck his new carpets. That's who he is, Meanwhile, the mattress man, like you said, hey, you can come in, you can sleep on all these mattresses. He's supposed to sell those, but he's just going to be taking a loss on them and writing them off on his taxes, next year, because he saw a need and he filled it. Now, one of these people is a respected, leader in Christianity, and one of them is just a, hokey local mattress salesman. But at the end of the day, they both got their money and they both proved their character. Now, out of those two people, the one that I think would blame the devil for a fall would be Osteen. And the mattress man, I think, would just come out and be like, yeah, I messed up. Sorry. I'll try to do better next time.
So what did the mattress man do? I missed that story.
He opened his stores. He had multiple mattress stores, and he opened them to Hurricane Harvey victims. After Joel Osteen turned them away from his, they showed up at what they thought was their church, when their homes got flooded, basically looking for just anywhere, any shelter to go to. And they got turned away from his church. But then the mattress guy opened up his stores and said, y'all can come stay here instead.
Is that similar to the story from last week where the guy let him in, but he wasn't allowed to have the homeless population in his store?
Well, no,
it's not. It's similar themes. You're on the.
What did he do wrong? But I guess what did the mattress guy do wrong? You said
he didn't do anything wrong. He did something grave.
Okay,
he's the objective.
He basically saying that's what Joel Osteen should have done. But a guy who just owns a mattress store or a furniture store and just I guess did the right thing, and Joel Osteen as the pastor did the wrong thing.
Gotcha. I didn't know if they had, had a hook like the other guy who, is now facing charges and all of that due to him letting the people into his store. Hey, y'all. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at TheWorstOnesPK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at TheWorstOnesPK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you want to, when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show. But no, I agree with Terry that we do rely too heavily, like the kind of like the Lord knows my heart. The devil get into my heart. Like we have these catchphrases that allows us to get out of things or do bad things and be okay with it or justify it or rationalize it so that it'll be okay. And I agree, Terry, that, we can do bad all by ourselves. That we didn't need, we don't have to blame it on the devil. It wasn't necessarily Lucifer that came and told us to do this. This was just what you wanted to do. Like
Eve was going to eat that apple either way. Like if enough time went by, she was going to eat that apple. Did the snake push her to it? Sure. But was she going to eat it eventually? Yeah.
I can see that logic.
I'm just saying that's the way I
like it. But yes. And so it does sadden me to hear stories like the pastor, like I said, that stole millions from his congregation and then said, well, he said, like I said, he said, God made me do it. But to use, I would prefer him say the devil made me do it, because God made me do it is just insane.
That's
Like,
a whole level of boldness.
right.
I would be scared. Okay.
Ooh, like they need to put him in jail for that alone. For that statement alone, he needs to go under the jail.
Right.
Then we topple with the theft charges and the fraud and all of that. But first, you go to jail for using God's name like that, because don't you do that. So that's crazy. And even going to the Kim Burrell's situation, she was rude. She was rude. We can't, when I was reading a couple of the comments and somebody had mentioned, like, we can't continue as Christians and as people that attend church to glorify people being rude. Like, this isn't okay. And I don't know if this was her church or a different church or, or whatever. I understand that you may have wanted to sing this solo yourself. Like you said, she's been doing this for a while. And so if she, again, I don't know the particulars in the context of where she was, if this is her church or whatever, but have a signal with the audio visual people to cut off everybody's mic. And it's just my mic going. I get that you want to sing your own song and other people messing you up and you feel like the Lord leading you to this. Then you have a signal to say, whatever, to cut their mics off. But to repeatedly say out loud in the middle of a service, to be quiet, that you got on a mask, use the mask or something like that, that's just rude and disrespectful. And that doesn't bring anyone into the spirit. So don't say, when I start singing, I want y'all to lift your hands to the Lord, and then say, hey, I want you to stop singing. No. And we can't make that okay. And to the points that we made last week and that we talked about today, and that even Janessa kind of tied it in and didn't even know it, but it is concerning just in terms of what younger Christians are exposed to. Because as you mentioned, Janessa, this is all they have. When we were in elementary, middle school, high school, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have all of these things. And so not that craziness wasn't going on in the church, because it absolutely was, but it wasn't on display like it is now. You only knew about it if you knew someone that happened in the church. Otherwise, they kept it kind of hush hush. And you had a mothers and whatever wanting to do the gossip and, but even as kids, that wasn't our business, Right. And if we weren't in adult business like we were supposed to be, then we didn't know. But now, like you said, you get your niece, 17 years old, who's on her way to make decisions on her own, in college, in young adulthood, of what she wants to do in terms of Christianity, in terms of going to church. See this, and I can see where it turns them off. Hey, absolutely. I've only gone for the last 18 years of my life because my parents made me go. It was college when I got to choose, did I want to go to church every Sunday or not? It was in young adulthood where I got to choose, is this what I really want to do? Now I go because this is something that I want to do versus something that 18 years ago, I ain't had no choice. But if I was exposed to, if I saw some of these videos, I may not want to. We've talked about a lot too, just the shifts in church service from the physical face-to-face in person to virtual. I'm not the big virtual person because I'm just not going to sit here. I'm going to do everything else, but you can listen to church on the way to work. You can listen to church on the way to the club. You can get a good sermon, a little 30-minute, 45-minute snippet that you feel like could take you on your way for the week, while you using the bathroom. That's just the way of the world, and there are some good, inspirational, motivational things out there. There are some good pastors that have good clippets that we and reels and stuff that, we listen to. But again, to your point, Janessa, that ain't what people want to see. And we talked about this last week. That's not what people want to see on those sites that had the most followers, those pages rather, that had the most followers. We want to see the Kim Burrell saying, use your mask and be quiet because cause that's funny. And so it's sad. It's absolutely sad, and I can absolutely see why it would turn people off. I don't know what to do other than pray. You know,
Right.
I don't know what the remedy is. I don't.
Yeah, because even to the point of what I was talking about last week, or even kind of bringing up slightly this week, like I don't know if just say like if we try to like be intentional about posting more of the good side, just say of the church experience, would it even get any traction? And not even just a sermon, but just showing like where, I don't know, just something else that just was the contrary to what we are seeing that's getting all the likes. Because if somebody was like, yo, this church accepted this, prostitute off the street into their church and wrote her a nice letter, welcomed her in, and gave her a $500 check, that ain't gonna get the same looks as the girl who got kicked out the church with the letter. They gave her the $500 back. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, but do you? But then at the same time, it's like humbly, because even with the Bible saying like, you just say you do stuff in private, and God will bless you openly. It's like you don't necessarily want to be the church that's showing like, oh, well, look what I did for them. I gave this person a sandwich. I gave this person $500. Because now it look like you just doing it for show. You know what I'm saying? So it's such
like those people on TikTok who give out money and do all that, but they do it for the clicks and the views. And,
and it's such a double-edged sword, because it's like I want to promote things that counter all the negativity, but if I do that, then it still looks negative. You know what I'm saying, to a certain degree. And then even with going back to what you were just talking about, Kelly, with the online church and stuff like that is a good remedy for people who maybe go to a church, just say in Atlanta, but they got to go travel to Colorado for business. I can still watch my church back home. Or I don't have a church home. I don't like any of the churches in my local area, but I'm able to go watch this church in Atlanta, and it feeds those people. But then there's people that's right there in Atlanta who's like, yeah, man, I ain't got to go in. You know what I'm saying? Like I can just watch this thing online. You know what I'm saying? And it's like there's always such a like I said, double-edged sword with all of it. And I mean the comforting thing for me, I'll let you 1 second, Janessa. The comforting thing for me is knowing like, okay, well, I don't ever think that anything that happens in life like it catches God off guard. Like he's like sitting in heaven, like, yo, you know what I'm saying? The Saints tripping. Like what do I do? Like I'm pretty sure, he's well aware of what's happening, and even, we'll just say work it out, all in his will, if you will. But even just on the surface level, especially when you're talking about training up a child in the way they should go, and when they grow, they won't depart from it. Like parenting today, it seems like you got to do a hell of a lot more training, you know what I'm saying, than just say even what we did growing up, because there's so much more that they can have access to fight against versus us just growing up, just say maybe even in ignorance, and just not, and we may have only known what was happening in our little church home, whatever like that, but not necessarily seeing everything that happens all over the world. And I think it makes a difference. But go ahead, Janessa.
I was just thinking what y'all were saying about like how the positive things are not kind of glorified or viral as the negative things are. And I think that's something that as Christians we could definitely improve on, is highlighting more of the positive. I was thinking like, I wish, Kelly, and I don't know if y'all do have any type of video footage from the conferences y'all did back in the day when we were teenagers, but I just wish that type of content could be shown, because we had a blast at those conferences. You know what I'm saying? Like a time was had. But people today have no, like youth today probably have no idea that, we did have a time. Or we did have those lockouts, or the, lock-ins, or we went to what was it called? American Adventures that one time, or Phone Factory. Like you can do fun stuff as Christians, but it's not highlighted at all. And I wish that it was more. Even like when we were talking about New Year's swag surfing or whatever, there was also the video of the other event at another church where they were singing old school songs and having a good time. Like, I wish that we could highlight those things more. But it does seem like the Shade Room or Spiritual World or the Jasmine brand, the different blogs or whatever, they tend to highlight more of the scandal, the drama, the negative than the positive. And then I do feel like sometimes they do highlight the positive, but it's not necessarily church positive. And so I don't know if that, we've just got to figure out a way to build up our own brands and highlight our own stuff and not just rely on other bloggers to highlight it, even though they have the bigger audiences. But I do think as technology advances and changes, we have to like advance and change with it. And I don't know if as a Christianity kind of like as a whole or on a bigger picture has really taken that step. And it kind of seems like the rest of the world is moving forward, however it is going to move forward. And we are like behind at this point. Like we're kind of trying to play catch up, but we're not unified really. Everybody kind of has their own view on what's okay, what's not okay, what's cool, what's not cool. And so it's just kind of like we're squandering sometimes. And I don't know. I don't think I could, I can take it on myself. I'm gonna have to pray about that. But it's not, I don't think it's a Janessa thing, but I just feel like something should be done. But what it is, I don't know yet. We're gonna have to put that on the intercessory ministry with Kellie and her father.
So something I even thought about when you two were talking. So let's take Spiritual World, for example, who's supposed to be, more Christian, spiritually based somewhere in there. I think about us as a podcast. If they took out the words or the sound, I feel like they would be more inclined to post, and even if they kept the sound, I feel like they would be more inclined to post our old stuff when Rudy was lighting the blunt, when Terry was drinking his beer, when Terry smoked his cigarettes, when I had my glass of wine. Like that would be more of what they would prefer to post in terms of, and we could be saying the same thing. In this format right now, where I apologize, Reese, I'm eating a piece of chicken and you drinking your water bottle, like we could be saying the exact same thing. Funny, not funny, serious, whatever it is. But you lighting that blunt in the background on his Preacher's Kids podcast is going to get way more views and way more clicks than this. Now, I definitely understand the shift and the transition that we made in terms of professionalism and cleanliness of it. But I feel like your original concept of it in terms of just being real and raw and who we are or whatever, and doing those things definitely is more of the clickbait than now. Now I know you stopped smoking, so even now you ain't gonna light no blunt no more. But but I feel like again that's the way of the world. That I feel like if we ever got popular for a certain population, and maybe the bigger population would be more inclined with us lighting blunts.
It's salacious,
Drinking beer. Right. Exactly. And that's the point. Drinking beer than just, positive. You know what I'm saying? And that's the sad part. In it, that when we go viral, when we get our 500 million followers, that they are going to, I feel like, run to that content Did Jesus get more in wood? Did, you know,
I
but
think it's good. It's good content, to be honest,
I don't think it's
because
bad content. I think we just shifted and it's different.
well, yes, but I think it's also better content in general because it engages an audience. It makes them think thoughts they never thought. Like, did Jesus get morning wood? He was a man. It's stimulating, and what's stimulating is what gets attention.
Pause.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I mean, what's mentally stimulating is what gets attention, and you could be the most righteous person in the room, but if you're boring, then nobody's really gonna listen the way that they should. Like the times of subtlety are over. You used to be able to tap someone on the shoulder and tell them something good. Now you got to hit them with a sledgehammer. That's just the way it is.
It just hit me, and
The
I'm
sledgehammer.
gonna pray about it. But maybe that's honestly another purpose for this podcast. We initially came in just kind of wanting to tell our stories, talk about whatever topics we want to talk about from our PK perspective, but maybe our bigger purpose is to kind of bridge our generation and the younger generation, and letting them know, we get it, we see you, you can have fun, you can talk about these things, the things that we didn't get growing up, we're talking about them now. And
I could do a rap if it helps.
No. Even like I was just saying to Kelly, do y'all have video footage of the conferences?
Right.
Y'all might not have the video footage, but the fact that we're talking about it, we lived through it. This is not some ancient, archaic way. Once upon a time in the 1900s, there was the takeover conference at Berean Christian Church. These are things that we really experienced. And maybe that's what our bigger purpose is just to kind of bridge that gap, to have that conversation, to be that youthful voice. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
I feel that. I definitely feel that. My last little thing I just want to say, I was just thinking about it especially going back to the Colorado pastor thing. I think it also doesn't help. Not even just the internet and the whole trolling situation, but it just doesn't help just say the following of Christ movement when people feel like you just say, I'll come to God when it comes down to just say getting something in return. And what I mean by that is, like the article said, that the way that he scammed these people was he convinced them that if they invested in the cryptocurrency, that they would attain wealth, which is what made them invest in the first place, as opposed to when it comes down to tithing is a system that was created by God, that when you give a tenth or even give a little bit more because you give a tithe and offering, it is to be able to, as the Bible say, have meat in the storehouse, but that's also to be able to just say continue the work of God, help people, maybe even open up your church when it comes down to a hurricane or something like that. And yes, in return, God will pour you out a blessing that you won't have room enough to receive, but it never said that would be an insurmountable amount of wealth as far as financially. You know what I'm saying? God pouring you out a blessing you don't have room enough to receive can look like many different things, but we automatically tie everything to getting, maybe I can't be just say the real estate investor or the entrepreneur with the business or whatever, but if I give to the pastor who's saying the cryptocurrency thing, or if I buy the Peter Popoff miracle water, you know what I'm saying, or the whatever, you know what I'm saying, he's still on TV, by the way. I just want to let
yes, he is on BET.
You talking about trolling, but people were convinced to follow what this pastor said because they're trying to invest in getting just say wealth financially from God, as opposed to And God is so much bigger than that. And I'm not shading money. I don't think that, people who have a lot of money, all of them are evil. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with having a lot of money or having a big house or any of these things like that. But when that's your sole purpose for coming to God or wanting to follow God or wanting to give or whatever the case may be, I think that foundation right there is already sinking sand. You know what I'm saying? You're already coming into this thing wrong, as opposed to all the other things, that come with just say following God. And some of it is tough. Some of it, dying to your flesh and trying not to sin and all that stuff is tough. Or even, studying to show yourself approved and being able to, stand firm in what you believe, even when a bunch of people in the world say other stuff. Or, you know, uh, taking slander for the, in Christ's name's sake, because you believe in this, and people are, just say scrutinize me for it. Like, all of those things are a reality that comes with it. Trials, tribulations, deaths in the family, whatever. All of that stuff, definitely comes, with just living this life in general. But being able to, walk with Christ and learn how your relationship is with him and what your purpose is and what your assignment is and how you should move. Even with the point that you were just making, Janessa, with this podcast, like, I never really even thought about that when it came down to this podcast. Like, I literally started this podcast because it was a thought in my mind. I was already started a bunch of podcasts. I knew Terry's co-host on his other podcast, excuse me, who invited me on there. Terry happened to mention during that one episode I was on that he was a preacher's kid. I reached out to Terry first. I never met Terry in person until we showed up to Kellie's house for that breakfast, in Atlanta, that 1 year anniversary or whatever. And
we saw each other at that show at Red Bar.
That was after.
Oh, was it after?
Yeah,
okay.
My first time ever meeting you in person was in Atlanta. And then I reached out to Kellie, and then Risa reminded me that I have a god sister that's also a PK. You know what I'm saying? And so that's literally how this thing came together. And it was, and it really even still is about just being our authentic selves, even if it is me just now not smoking no more. But I am still just who I am, and just because I don't smoke, it doesn't make me by any stretch.
It does. You're not as cool anymore.
Huh?
You don't smoke. So you're not as cool anymore because you don't smoke.
No, I'm playing. Yeah, but it doesn't make me like hella more Christian or whatever the case may be now. Like, it's a because we prayed with the blunt in my hand and everything. Like, that foundation that we had is still there, has always been there. But I definitely think that there is purpose and there is a method, just say, to the madness, and God, I truly believe, will allow it all to come full circle. Like, there was more occasions, whether you're talking about back in Bible times or even throughout life, where the world itself seemed like it was tripping and the God way wasn't the way, and it got so much scrutiny. But God used a few imperfect people, to fulfill, just say, their assignment, which coincide with his will. And ultimately, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess type, situation happens. So I just say, I'm in my closing of all this, like, I think the true perception of who God really is and what that relationship looks like, it being more than just coming with your hand out and saying, what can I get? I think needs to also be a thing, but then even us, seeing it through as far as our assignment together, our assignments individually, and just, being open to what God does want to do. Cause it does seem like the devil is trolling, but God will definitely just say, get the last laugh. So,
for sure. Team Jesus.
King Jesus.
Team Jesus.
Okay. Did Janessa, did you figure anything out between?
I told you, but text Kellie tomorrow. I'm gonna give her a personalized jewel tomorrow.
Kellie, did you have a jewel that you want to reiterate?
No.
Kellie keys. Kellie's keys. Don't cry, Kellie.
Okay.
Wipe your eye.
Well, Kellie won't be able to make it through this. She won't be able to make it through this week because she ain't got her jewels, but it's okay.
I know. I'm not here next week because I ain't make it because of the jewel now. But I'm not here. Just know.
Well, the jewel of every week is Jesus has risen.
There you go.
Christ is king.
There you go.
Jesus saves.
Prayer works.
Try Jesus, don't try me.
Amen.
Amen.
Because I got hands.
Try Jesus, don't try me. That is the jewel of the week.
So you cannot find me at Princess Kells 50. No, you can find me, but you cannot follow me at Princess Kells 51 because I'm still private. Right. But we praying.
We are praying.
You can find me at JRihanna_. We have fun over there. And I will say, I've already started thinking about the garden for this season. Okay. And stay tuned because I think I want to try some new stuff like eggplants, maybe a little pumpkin. You know, we're going to try some new stuff this year. So we'll see.
I can help you with the eggplant. I used to grow those.
Where do you grow them? In like a raised bed or in a container, or how did you grow them?
Yeah, I grew them in a container, in a above ground container. Very similar to tomatoes. You know, because they need some support.
Okay. So. We'll talk about it off camera.
And speaking of kids growing up in this internet and text age, make sure they realize that eggplant is actually a produce. It's not.
Yes.
It's not.
Makes a very good farm.
Like that. That was an actual thing before that became a thing in text messaging.
It's at Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms. And the book Unclaimed Ashes is on Amazon now. Please give me your money. I need it so bad.
And shout out to our producer. You can follow her at Risa_G. And that's it, man. That is our little podcast that we be doing weekly. I appreciate y'all working with my schedule this week, shooting on this off day. So
because it was hard getting us together today.
It was hard. But that's why I mentioned it last week. As soon as I found out, I said, let me go and say this now so we can.
Seems like I'm always
process that far in advance. I was like, Lord, it's too early for me to figure that out for next week. I don't know. But we did it. I'm proud of us. Terry, you were just super flexible, just went on with everything. I think I was the most challenging, so I take that for the day.
I don't have the CPT excuse, I guess. So,
okay, I was the worst one this time.
What? I'm allowed to know about that. Gio told me about it. Anyway,
well, we appreciate y'all watching and listening as always. Thank y'all for y'all support, and until next week, we the worst ones.
Top of the world. Top of the world.